I wasn't sure if I should start with it on me, if I should stand up and put it on, or if we should just have it kind of in camera. It's upside down. Oh, what's up, gents? So, Dirtbag, 40k Dirtbags here, first off. I appreciate all you clicking on the video. If you guys have heard or seen, we won Goonhammer Open. I didn't know, I thought it was bigger than it really was. I guess people on the East or West Coast, and then people overseas. I was talking to this Australian guy who plays Chaos. He's pretty cool. But it was a really cool grand tournament. We're going to be talking about it in this video today. I took a bunch of notes about it. It took me a couple days to actually make this video just because I wanted to make sure that I have everything prepared. But guys, it was awesome. We actually played Deathguard, obviously with the background you see here. But today we're going to be going over the packet, what we liked about it, what we didn't like about it, things that we can improve on, the lists, also the opponents. I took a bunch of pictures like every other tournament explanation that we do on this channel. So I love to hear from you guys what you like, what I can improve on, what we can do as a channel. But also, I really just want to make a 40k channel because I play this game a lot and I'm very competitive with it. The Cuddle Buddies that we go to a bunch of tournaments, I just joined them this year. These guys are a group awesome dudes. You'll see them in a picture in a minute. But we're trying to go to as many tournaments as we possibly can. And I would like to place, obviously, in as many tournaments as I possibly can. But going in here, I kind of picked my list and my faction dependent on kind of the terrain a little bit, which again, we'll get into. But hopefully you enjoy the video. And I guess we'll just get right into it. So, first off, Goonhammer Open was a 38-man tournament. It started at 50, but with everything that went on in the world, COVID, sick, just people canceling, stuff like that, we wound up with 38 players. It was a 3-day grand tournament, 6 games. It probably should have ended after 5, but we got 6 full games in, and with the packet that they did, they released it a couple weeks ahead of time. So in the packet, they gave us the missions, the terrain setup per mission, which days for each mission, and also just an example of what the terrain is going to look like for each mission, which was cool because then it gave us some time to actually practice the missions coming up. We were able to set up our own terrain, and you saw some of the videos. We were practicing for Goonhammer. We set up the terrain as all line of sight blocking, no windows, and that's kind of how the terrain was. You'll see in the pictures exactly. It was like a bunch of L's, one U, and a bunch of smaller L's in the back, but it was very simple. I liked how organized they were. They didn't really skip a beat at all throughout the entire tournament. And the guys were really cool. They answered questions. They knew their stuff. And obviously you guys are watching Goonhammer, reading their articles all over the internet web. I didn't know they were that big. So it was pretty cool showing up there. Clocks, which were almost a must. I wish they provided their own clocks per table. But they had a 2-hour and 45-minute time limit. Most of the RTTs that we go to are 3 hours, so you're kind of used to having a little bit more time on the clock. Every single game that I played with the clock came down to the final seconds. Some of the games were I was playing other Cuddle Buddies, which is pretty funny, but some games I kind of knew that we were just going to get done really quick. Both players kind of knew what they were talking about. So clocks were 2 hours, 45 minutes. They started exactly on time, which was, if you didn't have a clock, you kind of screwed yourself over. Because let's say you started an hour and, I don't know, 30 minutes on the clock each, or an hour and 15 minutes on the clock each person. If you didn't start that clock on time, you weren't going to finish on time. You both were going to have some time left over on the clock, but the round would have ended. So you kind of have to make sure that you start exactly on time like they did. The one thing that I didn't like was there's no warning. So if it wasn't for you checking your phone every 2 minutes to make sure that we started at 1 o'clock, so the clocks had to start at 1 o'clock, they didn't say, okay, round timer starting. If they didn't, I apologize. I didn't hear them, but I didn't hear them at all. So it was a ton of tables, a lot of people. So when they announced it, or if they should have announced it, everybody should have started at the same exact time. So terrain was 2 setups, 2 sets. So that's also something that I didn't really like going into it, because I walked into the event and I told my buddies, like, hey, what if we walk in here and it's not exactly the same setup or same terrain as we practiced. And that's exactly what it was. Some buildings had windows that you could see through. Some buildings were strictly no windows. So if you were on a terrain, like with me, with Mortarion, if you were on a terrain piece and there were no windows, that was good. That's what we practiced. If you were on a terrain piece and there were windows shooting through, they could shoot Mortarion. Which I know, again, go into normal rules if you're out and you can always see him, yada yada. But true line of sight, if you can't see Mortarion through this building, you can't shoot Mortarion. Most of the time his wings are super big, you can see him everywhere. This one kind of had a little bit of line of sight blocking. That's exactly why I brought Mortarion, just to kind of see if it actually made sense and was going to help out. We got Malibu, Pineapple, and Cranberry, I believe. Very, very good. I played the same 3 tables throughout all six matches. I started on table 6, then I went to table 2, and then I played on table 2 the rest of the day, and then I played on table 1. So it's like I didn't really get to see more than those 3 tables. So the first table 6 had the line of sight, you could see through it. Table 2 had pretty good line of sight blocking, so I like that table the best. And table 1 had an hourglass shape in the L's, so they were able to see kind of the sides and shoot Mortarion, which we'll get into. But how they decided the winners for this grand tournament was how they usually decide winners, right, is wins and losses. That's most RTTs, like whoever has the most wins, most losses, stuff like that. And then it decides battle points, like how many victory points you got throughout the entire 3 games. Then strength of schedule is a good one, because if you're playing really hard people, you should be able to get points for the people that you played. If you play really easy people to get to the top, your strength of schedule isn't as tough to get to that place. So if you win the top, but you tie with somebody else and somebody else had a better strength of schedule than you, they should technically win. That's one way to do it. And then finally, the 4th way in this Warhammer 40k universe is Path of Victory. I didn't know what Path of Victory was until this grand tournament. But whoever, for the amount of wins that you get in a row, it goes like 2, 4, 8, 16, and like you keeps going like that. If you win 5 in a row, you get up to like 62 points or something, just an example. And if you win 4 and then lose 1 and then play again, you stop at the one you lost. And then you can get like 2 points for the one you win. So that's kind of how Goonhammer structured their grand tournament, which again, I didn't find out till the final table. So that'll be a whole little discussion at the end, which we will talk about. But in the grand tournament, I went 5-0 with Deathguard and Mortarion. And then in the last battle round, I lost against, what was his name? He was on the Art of War guys. He lost to a Tyranid player before I played the Tyranid player. Andrew Gagno. So Andrew Gagno, I played him last game, which he beat me. But again, going with the strength of victory, or path to victory, I was able to win the grand tournament. I went into the grand tournament the only person going 5-0. So again, they should have stopped it after 5, and then I should have technically won. But then we played one more tournament, and that last game literally didn't mean anything, which again we'll get into. So the opponents the first round, I'll pull up the pictures, and we'll start going through game by game, and I'll tell you what the mission was, the points, what we learned, what I could improve on, what the opponent could improve on, and then we'll continue from there. Okay, so this was the venue. It was at a hotel. Ton of tables. They actually had 2 campaigns going on. One was a campaign all the way in the back. We had a couple cuddle buddies play in that, and then we had the grand tournament up front. All of us, if you guys can see, we brought these little wagon stroller thingies, so everybody on the Cuddle Buddies bought one. So we all have our armies kind of zipping around on these things, which is pretty funny. But we got John in his Tyranids, Craig in his Knights. We had Dan bring his Necrons. We had Tau, which was Brian, and then I played Deathguard. So okay, so this was the venue. Next one, we got the terrain setup. So let's go over this. So we have 2 big L shapes. Now you can see the line of sight blocking. On the other side, there's windows that you can, like right here, bottom floor was blocked off, top floor is true line of sight. So Mortarion can't really hide anywhere on the table besides these 2 L ruins. If I'm on this side, the wings stick out too much. If I'm back here, they're too tall or too short, but the only two are in the middle here. So if you turn them kind of sideways, the wings go long ways, and then you can fit them in this building. So that was really one of the reasons why I chose to go with Mortarion, just kind of test it out and have some fun with it. So let's go with, here's one of the table setups for the campaign. They're all different. Wait, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. There's a Jack. This one, I thought it was a table at first, but it was just extra terrain. I was like, can you imagine playing on this table? And then this was, dude brought one of these guys. I think that's the lion. Brought one of these guys. Cool terrain. I just thought it was really cool, so I took a picture of it. This is Andrew Gagno. He actually does his own paint jobs, which I asked if he does commission. That was my first question before I actually met him. But awesome looking Tau army. We'll go over it when we actually go over his list. This was our first opponent. So we played Matt forehand. He was probably the coolest player I played in a very long time. Super bubbly, super fun. Just wanted to be there to have fun. He was supposed to do another thing which got canceled because there wasn't enough people. So he's like, hey, fuck it. I signed up for the GT anyway. Let's play for the GT. So he brought, what was it? Dark Angels, and it's super fast Dark Angel list. So he had 3 of these big tanks with a bunch of, as much rockets and las and stuff you can put on them. 2 of these mortal wound bomber dudes, which if they fly over you, they can bomb you, and then these things, if they hit you or wound you, it does 3 mortal wounds, which is ridiculous. I've never seen it before. This is the first time I actually played Dark Angels in a very long time. Squad of bikes, 2 squads of 3 multi-melta bikes, the dude captain, another captain right here, and then this captain on the jet bike right there. And there was a little walking captain right here. Sorry if I don't know the names. But this was the list. This was the setup. And like I said, Morty could hide here, but he started placing all of his like big stuff over here. So I was like, let me just put him over here. I know he can't really hide, but this was a bad setup for me. So I couldn't really hide Morty. So if I put him here, he would have just got shot anyway. From these mortal wound guys. I guess let's pause it real quick. I'm gonna go over my list. All right, sorry about that. You probably saw this if you read Goonhammer already, but we ran Inexorable, which one of my opponents didn't know that Deathguard have the -2 strat to charges, which I was like, any competitive Deathguard, you're gonna see that. So I felt bad, but it was Inexorable. So they have the CP strat to -2 to charges and the Ferric Blight, which is the Contagion range. So with this list, I really just wanted to be as fast as humanly possible with Deathguard. So hopefully you guys will learn something with Deathguard, that you can make them fast if you obviously have Mortarion or guys that move 10 inches or a drop pod or stuff like that. So yes, you heard drop pod. Lord of Contagion. He was brought in here because I wanted him to come down in the drop pod with the Terminators and kind of have Ferric Blight, so the Terminators hit really freaking hard. I didn't really charge with him at all. Coming down turn 1 almost every single game, I kind of had him stay back or in the drop pod and kind of just wait a turn. So he brought our Plague Skull. He has the Mortal Wound Plague Skull. He has the Plague Bearer, which is for free. And the Ferric Blight, I added the Warlord trait on him. So anybody's in his Contagion range, which he gets +3 to Contagion ranges, I get +1 to my AP. So if I have AP2 weapons, they go to AP3 if you're in Contagion range, which is pretty cool. So it's a good combo. He also brought Unstable Sickness, which didn't really come up too much, but it could. Any unit or any model that he kills in melee, he rolls a D3, and I believe on a 4+, they take a mortal wound in addition, up to 3. So basically, if he kills 3 guys, you could potentially get 3 more extra mortal wounds out of that unit, which just helps out. Malignant Plaguecaster, Miasma, which is the -1 to hit, Vitality, which is the +1 strength and toughness, and Curse of Leper, which is the mortal wound one. Roll 7 dice above their toughness, it's a mortal wound. So that was the Malignant Plaguecaster. I gave him the Relic to have him have 3 powers, which we'll go over how I would change this list. Plague Marine units, we had 1 big 10-man. They were in one of the Rhinos. Everything you possibly put on the Plague Marines, you put on the Plague Marines. Literally everything you put on them. Every unit, same thing. So one big 10-man unit, and the reason I like the 10-man unit because of the 2 CP strat that you continue over wounds. So it's a lot of CP for a 5-man unit. It's good CP for a 10-man unit if they get into combat like fully ready to go, spend 2 CP, it continues over. So if you're facing Tyranid warriors or anybody that has more than 2 wounds, you're going to be able to continue the damage over to the next guy, which is huge. And then we had 2 5-mans just in case we needed to split one of them up in the rhinos. So 2 of them were in one rhino, 1 big 10-man was in the other rhino. 2 Poxwalker units, really just for backfield objectives, and they can go out if I need them to just get on the center objective to spread the sickness. But they're kind of there just to kind of block charge lanes and just be there. 4 Death Shroud Terminators, 200 points. They're good the way they are. You don't really need to add anything to them. Now you can take out the Lord of Contagion and add a 5th Death Shroud Terminator. I was thinking about that, but the Lord of Contagion is just an extra body that can go somewhere else. So he can either go fight another unit, he can stay in the drop pod, he can go charge something else, he can stay on the objective. Like, there's a lot you can do with him while the Terminators go and do their thing. So that's why I like the Contagion. You could probably get a cheaper Lord in there, but the Contagion just hits so freaking hard. I wish he did hit on 2s though. They made him hit on 3s. Tallyman, of course, he doesn't have anything extra. He's just there for the extra CP every single turn. Drop Claw. So people asked about this guy, and running Mortarion, I 100% would add a Drop Claw. Every single army that has Drop Claw, I'm probably going to be running a Drop Claw. Once Chaos gets their Drop Claw errated, where it adds the Astartes keyword to it, I'm going to run a Dread Claw in my Chaos army. So it comes down turn 1, optional. It holds 10 models or 5 Terminators, and it hits like a truck. So if it flies over a unit, it's 2 up, D3 mortal wounds, and it has 4 attacks, hitting on 4s, -4 or something, flat 3 damage. So if people ignore it, it then moves 12 inches and just charges whatever the hell it wants. It can charge at the turn it comes down, which is freaking hilarious. So it has an 8-inch charge. If somebody's on the other side of a wall, you could basically charge it and get an 8-inch charge off. So the Drop Claw helps me put pressure turn 1 if I go first, or be KG turn 2 if I don't go first. So that's why we brought the Drop Claw. We'll go over more strategy at the end. Bloat Drone, he is Mortarion's bodyguard. So everywhere the Mortarion goes, he was kind of following him around. If Mortarion moved up 12, he would then run D6 inches, just kind of stay next to him. And the reason, because he has the 1 CP strat to Heroic Intervene. So basically, if you Heroic Intervene 6 inches away, if they charge Mortarion, you can then just kind of come over and tag the unit and help Mortarion fight. Heavy support, Plague Burst Crawler. I totally forgot that they have a 1 CP strat to make it damage 3 and mortal wound for everything that got hit, like on a 4+. Totally forgot about that until John mentioned it on day 2. So we used it a lot on day 2. But just kind of backfield, putting a bodyguard next to Tallyman as well as the Plaguecaster. So he kind of just sits in the back and just is there. It has the D3+3 entropy cannons, which are great. And I wish Tallyman could buff him, but he can't. So he did what he's supposed to do and just be there, toughness 8. 2 Chaos Rhinos. They carry the Plague Marines. Now, when you have turn 1, you want them to get out and where you have to be. So either they're running to get engaged, they're running to get on objectives, or they're running to follow Mortarion up the center of the field. So depending on the deployment and where you're putting your zombies, these guys are going to either follow Mortarion or get to both sides of the map to take over the objectives and spread the sickness. So then obviously we had Mortarion. He did the one where you can't reroll hits or wounds within contagion range. So he brought the extend the range by 6, which is so good. I probably should put that on Plaguecaster, but he brought the extend the contagion range, so he can put that up to a 12-inch on himself, which is awesome. He brought -1 strength and attack if you get over an 8. It's only a cast 5 for -1 strength, so I can basically put it on somebody if they're about to charge Mortarion. And then he brought Curse of the Leper as well. So basically he's like a debuffer for who's about to charge him, and he can do some mortal wounds at the same time to, you know, a unit that's pretty close to him. So that was the list. Pretty simple, but you've probably never seen anything like this before, which we'll go over it in plentiful at the end. All right, so let's go over this. Now you know the list. This is kind of, you'll see kind of where everything was set up. All the way to the left here, we had the Plagueburst Crawler hidden. We had nothing in this building because it literally is just both sides you'd be able to see. So I was going to get shot from both sides. So we put most of our army over here. We have the zombies. Everything's on the bottom floor. Zombie, Tallyman, Plaguecaster, Bloat Drone next to Mortarion. Zombies over here, Rhino. So the big Rhino always had the 10-man. The little Rhino always have 2 5-man units just to make it easier. This is the one where it's 6 objectives. If you control these 2 on the other end, you get 2 points. If you control this at the very end of the game, you get 4 points. So a lot of points at the end. So you set up the multi-melts over here. He had all the flying stuff over here, and then a bunch of regular troops over here. Now he had these guys advance deploy against the building. So my thought, since Mortarion's right on the line, he then moves up 12 and then has like a 8-inch charge or something against the thing. So I was like, all right, if I go first, Mortarion's across the table, the Rhinos are where they have to be. Basically everybody's in position. The drop claw probably would have dropped back here on this objective and then charged through the building to get an 8-inch charge to tag up literally half of his vehicles over here. So flyers would then just flown over, but still we would have been able to tie up everything, you know, all over here. So that was the goal turn 1. I didn't get turn 1. He got turn 1. So let's go over. This is what he did on turn 1. Now, again, I coached him at the end because he was a really fun guy. So when I was telling him what he could have done to basically kill me, I was then scared to face him again. But he brought all of his Meltas up. He shot Mortarion with the Meltas. He brought all of his vehicles over here, shot everything into Mortarion. And then the mistake, I think, where these things flew over and shot the troops right here. So he shot the 1 Rhino, which did some damage, and then he killed the rest of my zombies over here. If you would have put all those shots into Mortarion, I think Mortarion would have died. Mortarion lived the turn 1 with 4 wounds. Without getting any buffs up on Mortarion, he would have lived a lot longer. He would have been up where he already is right now. He only moved 10 inches. But then basically, big difference. Now, what I did with my drop pod came in all the way back here because he left that side open. And then I charged and tugged a bunch of his vehicles over here. So I think we killed one of these characters and we tugged these other 2 vehicles. So we had to either spend a CP to fall back and shoot, or he couldn't shoot those guys anyway. So that's kind of what I did. I moved up. 5 of these guys got out of the Rhino on turn 1. They charged these 2 guys. Mortarion charged up. These guys charged in. And these guys kind of waited on the objective over here until he potentially blew it up. And then I just walked into the ruin. But he didn't blow up this Rhino. This thing charged the flyer. And then I think it killed it. 4 wounds. So he almost died. This guy then consolidated, and tug up both of these. Now, since it's a flyer and he tugged those things, they have to fall back and shoot for these things. But instead, he went into hover mode just so he can spend a CP and shoot the next turn. So the Dreadclaw came in over here. There was a biker dude back here, which I failed the charge. I needed a 9. But everybody else made the charge over here. And kind of tug up this. So the Terminators in the backfield on that objective, turn 1, was freaking awesome. Dreadclaw's still just kind of chilling in the back, and all the bikes are almost dead after turn 1. So I think that was the biggest mistake, was the bikes were too far forward. They should have stayed back at 24 inches and just kept shooting and moving. But instead he threw them forward, and they just got eaten up by the Plague Marines. So after a couple turns, or this is after turn 2, these guys went into hover mode. The Blight drone just kept following them and eating them. He's still at 4 wounds. These guys kind of moved over to shoot Mortarion. These guys charged the guys in the building, which then finished off them. I still have 5 guys in this Rhino just running forward, so that way I can get engage and also the end game objective. And then over here, this guy fell back with 1 wound. These Terminators are still plentiful. My leader has 5 wounds left up top there. And then let's get into the next turn. Next turn, he's got a flyer left. This guy is charging Mortarion. Mortarion has 1 wound left, so he just wanted to kill Mortarion just to say that he killed Mortarion. But at this point, I basically have the board kind of in my favor. Mortarion is about to die, but he did his job by soaking up all of the shots, which is the whole point of this list. And then the flyer is still alive after turn 3. So the Plagueburst Crawler kept shooting at the flyer and just didn't really do anything. It has 3 wounds left on the flyer, and this thing has 1 wound left in the back here. And then Mortarion actually lived, so he got charged. I made the save. I re-rolled the save, and then that guy died. So he just got swept up by Mortarion. The fact that he can't re-roll hits or wounds is what makes Mortarion so freaking deadly in combat. So Craig can attest to this, that a lot of people, even Abaddon, will charge the Mortarion and won't do anything because of the no rerolls. So he had wound up with 24, and then we wound up with 96. So we brought behind enemy lines, which was good on this one because the Drop Claw and the Terminators and the Lord, that's 3 units potentially you can get in behind enemy lines, depending on the deployment, is a great one. You don't want to do it when there's only a quarter of the table, and it's really hard to do the deployment with the diagonal. So the one that's straight across is pretty easy because as they move up, you can really deep strike almost anywhere on their side. So behind enemy lines is a good one. Bring it down, and then spread the sickness. So max, and then 11 for bring it down. But we got 96 in total. And then we played another Cuddle Buddy. So I was going into round 2 thinking like, all right, I already lost because we played this matchup the other day. We were just testing out for Goonhammer, and he has freaking railguns. So railguns are what Mortarion do not like to see. If I could not face a railgun for the rest of my life, I would love it. But he brings 3 of them. He brings Talset, or the main character dude, and then 2 other railguns, which have an innately reroll for some fucking reason. They have marker lights and everything. So they don't give you an invuln save, which is stupid. And then if they wound you, it's 3 additional mortal wounds. So potentially it's like 9 to 12 essentially wounds per shot of these railguns, and you don't even get to save it. Like, I understand if it's just 12 wounds and you get a save, but why is it -6? That's what I don't get. So if it was like -3, then yeah, I'll get like like no invuln, but -3, at least I still get a 6-up save, like potentially being able to save it. But just -6 is some bullshit. So Brian, we have 3 Kroot units, 2 Hound units, which are really good. A 4-man marker drone unit, 2 3 or 4-man battle suits. The one commander that has the fist. A small unit of stealth dudes, and the Azerial, where the guy gives you a CP. Whatever that guy does. So that's basically the list. And the Melta chick. He loves this girl. So the double Melta commander chick. So this was the setup we played long ways. Now this is what I was saying. So this gave me a little bit of line of sight blocking. He wasn't able to shoot it with Mortarion, and all of his broadsides basically line up in the back there. And we're playing long ways, so it's going to take me literally the entire game to get all the way on the other side of the table. But we had a quick setup. We played the 5 objectives, so 1 over here, 1 over here, 1 in the middle, 1 over there. This was the setup, so the Scouring. And then let's get into, this was his setup. Just deadly. Okay, so with Tal, they have the Kroot, which can advance deploy. This glass straw is bullshit. It doesn't stay in, which is what she said. So the Kroot, they get to advance deploy. So basically they're blocking out your entire deep strike. If you charge them turn 1, you're only going to be killing Kroot. So all this stuff is protected in the back. All of his Kroot here, 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 and there, they're all protected in the back. And when he moves up, he basically gets to a point where you just can't assault his stealth suits, you can't assault his regular suits, you can't assault his tanks. So this was tough. I was like, what do I do? Because again, I played this mission with him the other day and he just tabled me, like annihilated me. I know not to take objectives that are endgame, like our endgame objective against Tau is not good because you're going to get tabled, so you're going to get 0 points for that. So the best option is to either take the one where you can fleeing vectors, where you kill shit really fast. You can get up to 5 points if he fails morale. You want to do if they have enough units, which he doesn't have a lot of killing shit, you want to do killing as much units as possible. You want to do bring it down if you like. His list doesn't give up a lot of good secondaries. So with this one, we set up the Blight drone over there with the Rhino and zombies. We set up Mortarion and Rhino and zombies over here with the Plagueburst Crawler back here and the 2 characters back there. I had turn 1. So I was deciding, do I just go for it or do I sit back and wait? Because if Mortarion just sits back and wait and I just spread the sickness, he then just takes over the board with his Kroot, and then I don't really have anywhere to drop my guys down. So what I did was I decided to drop down right here. Sorry, over here. And then I dropped off my Terminator, so they charged the Kroot. The Claw actually got the charge off on the Kroot. Mortarion hopped out 12 and failed his charge. So Mortarion's basically sitting there like a dumbass in the middle with 3 railguns literally just kind of staring at him. These guys are dumb, so I looked over and I said, all right, do these guys have line of, or are these guys within 12 of your dude right here? Now, after I line up and get all my guys out, I go to shoot, and then he's like, oh, you don't have line of sight. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, this thing blocks it. And I was like, well, fuck me, right? I was like, oh, thanks for that, cuddle buddy. No, just kidding. So these guys were basically just sitting there, nothing to shoot. They were kind of 10-man just lined up. This guy made his charge against the Kroot in the building. These guys failed their charge. I wanted to get them in to kind of tag up everything, but they needed an 8, and I failed twice. So they're kind of stuck there. I brought 5 guys out in the center objective to kind of come out and finish off these Kroot. And then there was these Kroot over here. So my goal was to try and leave, one of these Kroot hounds alive, so that way he potentially could fail his leadership. And I think we charged them and killed them by accident. So they have like a 6-up save. So they just died. Like they just melted it. He didn't even get a chance to save. These guys, he charged in, killed a bunch of guys. And then these guys charged in and then consolidated. I was able to tag his dude right here. So he was taking over this objective. I stole this objective from him, but since I consolidated into the Kroot, his Kroot was able to move up 3 and then move up 3 to get back onto the objective and take the objective back because he took banners. So that was such a good move by him because he took the objective back from me after I took it back from him. But I was able to tie up this hammerhead so that way he couldn't shoot at Mortarion. And then this guy moved over and I couldn't get enough space or distance to get on that hammerhead. So on his turn, he basically just lined up both hammerheads, aiming at Mortarion. These guys all came over, gave marker lights to everybody. These Kroot fell back, and then these guys hopped out to right here. Now this is where I thought I had the cheeky play, right? I did a Cloud of Flies on this unit because he has to shoot the closest visible target. So these 4 guys had to shoot this thing with his commander over here as well. So these 4 guys had to shoot this guy, and then this one guy could shoot the unit. So I was like, yes, finally, Cloud of Flies actually works. And then his fucking leader melts the shit out of this dude and rolls like a 7. And then shoots the rest out of him to do 9 wounds and just takes him off the table. I was like, well, that's some fucking bullshit. So I spent 2 CP, which then he just died anyway, and then all these guys got murdered. So that was not expecting that. So good play by Brian to make up for a Cloud of Fly strat. And then these guys kind of came over to get on the objective. He wanted to finish off these guys. And then the Kroot came over. They fell back. All these guys kind of are chilling here. They fell over somehow. And then he deep struck this unit back here to finish off these guys in the cover. So that was kind of his turn. So you see, this is what happened afterwards. I'm starting to run out of models. 2 railguns took out Mortarion. Just bad. These guys got out of the Rhino behind the wall here. They moved up. They're going to try and finish off these Kroot. And then the Terminators, we actually have 3 alive. They then moved up to charge and try and do as many, just try and finish off this unit back here and tie up the tank again. I'll tell you what happened in a second there. This guy got out of the drop pod and started moving this way. I did the Plague Skull onto this character, and then we charged and just destroyed her. This guy hopped over to here to kind of tie up this tank over here. We have all these guys dead. So that was a full unit of dudes just got obliterated by these guys, which kind of sucked. This guy moved up. This guy is the sole survivor in the center here. He's going to try and finish off these guys. These guys walked out and put a spread in the center. So I spread, and then we spread that turn 1. So we have almost a lot of spread going on. So after this one, these guys made their charge. These guys made their charge. He killed that guy. There's nothing really going on over there. I basically lost this side of the table. And this guy made his charge and finished off 2 of these guys over here. So at this point, we were kind of winning the primary because I had 1, 2, 3, 4. I almost had 3 to 4 every single turn, which I really needed to do against Brian because he's such a good player that he still winds up tabling me in this matchup. But winning on primary and stopping your primary or your opponent from getting primary points is kind of the whole point that I was trying to do here, is just stop him from getting points. So we could have like threw everything at this unit and just trying to go after it, but I learned my lesson last time we played where they just have full reroll hits and wounds and they can overwatch, and just it's not a fun time. So let me tell you what happened over here. These 3 guys spent 1 CP to hit on 2s. They all have 2 damage, -3 weapons, and they were all going into this unit. So his fucking 3 drones, 2 of them being a shield drone. I killed one of the regular drones, and then he started rolling 9 saves. 9. I wounded him 9 times. -3, 4 up invuln. Saved. At that point, I walked away from the table. I was like, this is some fucking bullshit. So he literally made 8 out of 9 4-up invuln saves on that 1 drone before it died. So then next turn, he basically shot and killed the rest of these guys. So that was kind of a downer right there. And Mortarion obviously dying in 1 round of shooting. He didn't really do anything this game. He kind of just went out and just took 2 railgun shots to the face and then died. This was so he made all that and then failed 1. So I was like, oh my god. Okay. So then his turn, he moved up, finished off these guys. These guys are kind of staying behind here. All the railguns are starting to get into line to try and finish off this guy. So these things fell back, and then he just shot my leader in the face, no invuln, and just killed it. These guys are starting to move this way to try and charge and get some movement on the zombies. So right now he's just trying to get points. So he's basically taking over my top side. There's still nothing over on the bottom side. He killed all the Terminators here. So basically he's about to just sweep and table me the next 2 games, or the next 2 rounds. So he's starting to move out. He's starting to get to board presence. He's starting to actually get primary now. So the Kroot move out, taking over the center objective, puts a banner up, comes over here, kills the rest of my Plague Marines. 3 railguns just shoot and kill the everything. You don't get any saves. So this is the end of the game. So this is him. I have nothing left. So basically tabled me at this point. But again, we weren't playing to be at the end of the game. Like, I learned you do not want to take that against Tau. So he took Decisive, Banner, Bring It Down. I took Spread the Sickness, Fleeing Vectors, and Behind Enemy Lines. So Fleeing Vectors, I probably could have got a little bit more out of that. Or maybe I should have just taken Banners. No, because Spread the Sickness is Banners. So I got Spread the Sickness full, which was awesome. Fleeing Vectors, he failed a morale check on one of his Kroot, which got me 5 in one turn, which was huge. And then I got 2 the following turn. So I only got 7 on that. Behind Enemy Lines, I got 8. So on turn 2, I was able to get 4. And then turn 3, I was able to get 4. And then he basically just killed me the rest of the time, which I might have gotten more than that. I don't think we tracked that right. But he got 69, which he automatically wins, and then I got 82. So 69 to 82, I finally beat Brian with his frickin' Tau, which he's just known in our meta as the monstrous Tau player that nobody wins against. So it was just such a cool game. It was number 2 in the grand tournament, so I was like, all right, I beat Tau. Who the hell am I going to play next? Another fucking Cuddle Buddy. So basically, Craig, who's our captain, I had to play. So he's been running Chaos Knights. He took out his big knight and just brought a shit ton of war dogs with Abaddon. Everything you see here is WYSIWYG, so the Meltas, Claws, big guns, 2 autocannons, salt, like everything is just Meltas or big guns, and then Abaddon, which looks awesome. So, we played this exact matchup maybe a week prior, and it was not good in Craig's favor. So we kind of knew what was going to happen. Basically, he just couldn't kill Morty, and the Plague Marines, once they get to them, they just killed everything. Like, the Plague Marines in melee against these knights are just insanely good. So we played this setup, the long setup again. We don't get CP unless we start on this one of these 2 center objectives, which is kind of bullshit. I don't really like that. I wish they would change it. But me and him complained about that the whole time. If you ever come to AU, we're never going to run this mission, so don't worry about it. But I prepared for this because I have Tallyman. So Tallyman just has to make 1 out of 2 of his rolls in the morale phase to potentially get that CP back from me. So I start with 2 CP in the beginning of the game. If he gets me 1, I go with 3. If he doesn't get me 1, it's fine. I still have 2 CP. It's not a huge difference. But this was a setup. So all the knights back here, all my guys back here, same table, I believe. But Mortarion's kind of just chilling right there to block line of sight for his whole shooting army. So what he did, which he did different from last time, was he walked up one of his dreads onto this objective and did the action. And then he backed everybody up and just said, okay, go, your turn. So he didn't give any charge targets for Mortarion, because if he would have walked up his dreads, Mortarion, because he had first. So Mortarion would just hopped out and potentially charged one of his war dogs, which again, we found out is bad. So we kind of had the same deployment as I did against Brian. Guys over here, and then my turn, I had a 6 on the advance. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it, you only live once. And I threw Mortarion out with an advance 18 inches just onto the objective. So I was like, all right, here you go. Go deal with him, go shoot at him, go do whatever the fuck you want to do with him. The rest of my guys are going to kind of move out, and I had my deep striking Dreadclaw over here to basically try and charge and kill this guy off the objective. Because if I can get him off the objective, he still doesn't get a CP because he doesn't control this objective, and I can kill it. So I think we made our charge here. Yeah, so we made our charge. We got into this zone, and we didn't take it over because he's 5 models, and we only have 4 on the objective. But still, we're in his deployment zone. We have our Lord that stayed in here, which, don't do that. Like, don't do what I did. I'll show you what happens, which you could probably guess what happens. But he's staying in there. Mortarion's up here fully buffed. All these guys are kind of going over here. And then his turn 1, he basically shot Mortarion. Didn't really do a ton of damage. Mortarion walks up. He's down to 7. Charges. the War Dog, kills the War Dog. Abby then comes in and charges Mortarion. The Dreadclaw hops up 12, charges this thing. The guy's still inside, which, bad. Terminators are down. This thing's flying forward just to kind of get into combat. Zombies are doing their job by cleansing the back two objectives. This thing's over here just to get some pot shots off. The Rhinos are starting to move up slowly. This guy, Deep Struck over here, failed the charge. I did the -2 to charge, so we needed like an 11 charge. So Mortarion is sitting on 7 wounds still. -1 to hit, full rerolls. Abaddon's just not really doing anything. Abaddon's on 3 left. So that's clutch. We don't have a lot of issues in Abaddon. Anytime we play Abaddon, we can smite him, we can charge him, we can shoot him, we can do a lot of stuff to Abaddon. So by this turn, he kind of has one really hurt Dread, another really hurt Dread. This guy's completely fine. And then these 3 guys are completely fine. But he has 3, 4 fully Dreads and then 2 hurt Dreads, and Abaddon left with 3 wounds. So at this point of the game, it was kind of like, again, it was tough because of Mortarion just surviving. So in one of the rounds, he started his turn with Mortarion on 4 wounds. And he was able to shoot and charge and all this shit, and Mortarion then wound up with 4 wounds. So it was just such a slap in the nuts with that. We're basically just going for objectives at this point and secondaries. So this thing is moving up. These guys are moving up. This guy flew over to get some charges off over here. There's really nobody in this objective back here. All right, so I think last turn he did it. He blew up my Dreadclaw, and he's like, all right, well, do me a favor and roll a 1. So guess what I did? I rolled a 1, and the Dreadclaw blew up, and then the guy inside died. So he told me to roll a 1 for the guy inside. So if there's more than one model, you can choose who dies, right? So there's only one model. So I rolled a 1. My Lord of Contagion died with the Plague Skull. So that's what I found out right there is when you come down turn 1, you want to get out of the Dreadclaw. So that's my lesson learned from this mission, or from this game, is anytime you have a character in a transport, get him out of the transport. Like, it's going to die. You're going to roll 1. You're going to get pissed off. And he killed my Lord of Contagion with the Plague Skull on him by not even hitting the table, which was freaking hilarious. So we needed another drink. That's fucking strong. Okay. So yeah, that was the biggest lesson I learned from this game. I think Craig is a super fun opponent to play. So that was turn 3 or 4. He still has his autocan Dread left, kind of just shooting off into the distance. Mortarion has 2 wounds left. Abaddon's dead. These guys kind of just are trying to get points, right? We finish off the rest of these Dreads over here with the Plague Marines. Plague Marines hit really fucking hard, by the way. And then he's got a Dread with this guy 2 wounds left. And then I think his autocannon Dread is back here on the objective over there. So we had 100. Sweet. We took... what did we take? We took Bring It Down. Obviously, you're going to max that out against Knights. We took Behind Enemy Lines, which, again, I told you, it's a good secondary if you're bringing the Drop Claw, because you have basically 3 units that potentially could be in their deployment zone pretty early on. And Spread the Sickness is almost a must for Deathguard. So Bring It Down, Spread the Sickness, and Behind Enemy Lines. And we controlled 3 or more almost every single time. So he wound up getting 50, which was cool. And then 100 for Deathguard. Now that was day 1. So let's dive in here. After day 1, I was going into this hoping to win maybe 4 out of 6 games. Not really. Deathguard isn't my main army. Grey Knights obviously are my main army. But coming into the grand tournament with 2 days, 6 games, yada yada, going into day 2, 3-0, I expected to just drink. Like the last GT we went to with Mike and Nolan, we just literally drank the entire night and just didn't give a shit. But this time I wanted to all right, maybe I can do something, right? Maybe I can place, maybe I can come in second or third or whatever it may be. So I literally spent the entire night, probably till 1 o'clock, 1:30, just reading the next 3 missions, reading the opponent's army lists, looking at their facts, their updates and shit like that. So I honestly took this pretty seriously. But again, this is just me. I didn't want to go into day 2 completely hungover and just lose my first game and then just kind of shit the bed. So it was either going to be me versus Tau, which is Andrew Gagne, me versus Tyranids, which there's a bunch of good Tyranids players, and then me versus Chaos. Those are like the ones that I potentially could face. So Chaos I pretty much knew. I kind of have the book, read it, yada yada. Tyranids, John plays all the time, so I've faced that type of list before, just not that type of 2 units that I played. I'd never seen them before. So and then Tau, which obviously Brian plays Tau, so if I play Tau, I lose. Like it's gone. So first match, day 2, we get. Sorry, this is the silent auction. We get Chaos, so we get Emperor's Children. Now, Emperor's Children I didn't really read a lot on. I just know that everything is Slaanesh and it fights first, and it's really good. It's got Noise Marines and all this shit. But again, I kind of knew what it could do. So this game, if you guys are watching this is probably the best example of what this list does, okay? This is the scenario where you all are 9 inches away. You basically have like an 18-inch or less charge. If you're directly across from each other, 18 inches. Mortarion moves 12, so he basically has a 6-inch charge. So this is the perfect scenario for Mortarion if you go first. And guess what? We went first. So his list, I'll run down it really quick. Let's see if I have a picture of it. Okay, so he brought a Tzeentch Demon Prince, or Slaanesh Demon Prince, I'm sorry. Venomcrawler, Havocs, Last Cannons, Possession, 3 units of Noise Marines, the Priest guy, 10-man unit of Terminators, Abaddon, this guy with the axe, he's the master, the character guy that does the mortal wounds on hits. And he had 2 Venomcrawlers. So 2 Venomcrawlers, 105 points, like really good unit. So that was his list. It was the standard Chaos Space Marine list. Now he's telling me all of his strats that he can do. Like I'm telling him all the stuff I can do. He basically has a guaranteed 19-inch charge from his Terminators. He has a strat where he can auto advance 6. He can spend a CP to advance and charge. And then there was like, and then he can spend a dice to automatically have 6 be one of the dice to charge. So basically, if you think about it, 6, 12. And then 5, that's 17. So basically he has a 17 plus 1 on the second dice. He has an 18 guaranteed charge. 18 inches on the Terminators. Plus, if he rolls like a 2 or higher, that's how much more distance he gets on the charge. It's scary. Plus all the trans hitman and 5-up Feel No Pain and everything you buff the Terminator units with, that's kind of weird. Now, where he made a mistake was his deployment. Some reason he put up his Terminator right here. I don't fucking know why. Zach, really nice guy, knows his shit, plays freaking Gagne and all that stuff, all the time. So I know he's a good player. He put one of his Terminators basically like within 2 inches of the wall. So I'm looking at this, I'm like, all right, if I go first, I can literally throw Mortarion in his face and drop the Dreadclaw down and just go and just keep him in his objective the entire game. So we went first. Mortarion hops up 12. Dreadclaw drops down. These guys get out. This guy gets out this time because, again, I told you, don't keep your solos or your characters in transports. This guy, zombie, moved up, spread the center objective. All of these guys scooted over, so I had a Rhino that started here and here. I took engage this time. So Rhino started on the line. It basically advanced to get engaged. It's one advanced to get engaged. And then I'm basically in his deployment zone. So I basically got engaged. So Mortarion walked up. He needed a 7 to go from here to that guy with the extra 2-inch rule now. I failed. I re-rolled it. I failed. I was like, fuck me. So if I would have got Mortarion in there, his Terminator unit probably would have had 3 guys left at the end of the turn, because he wasn't buffed up. He didn't have anything on it. I gave it -1 attack, -1 strength on the Terminator unit. These Terminators did make the charge, so they were able to get in. He heroic intervened 6 inches with that character guy on Chaos, which does mortal wounds. And when he did that, he spent 1 or 2 CP to make me fight last. So he made me fight last. So I basically come up and I tag that one guy, so that way I'm I'm far enough away where his pile-in, he didn't get a lot of Terminators in to fight me. So I didn't really lose a lot of guys. I think I lost 1 Terminator with the mortal wounds from the one character, and then this guy was left with 1. And then his Terminators went in and attacked, and I didn't really lose a lot. Okay, so let's go back to this. So we found out, we keep fighting. I then put all 3 of these guys into his character because I took Assassinate. So I was like, all right, if I just kill his character, I can at least get 3 points right away. Turn 1, character dead. Don't have to worry about mortal wounds from that guy anymore. So I killed that guy, and then he has all his Terminators kind of fighting the rest of this unit. He then walks up and shoots all of his last cannons into Mortarion. He shoots all these guys into Mortarion. He puts smites and shit into my guys, finishes off with 1 guy. But he's basically just trying to shoot Mortarion with his Noise Marines, and one of the blasters does 4 straight damage if it's in half range, which is insane. So 3 damage to Mortarion per shot, heavy 3, like really good cannon. He only did like 1 wound. So it was just bad dice rolling. I can attest he rolled really, really bad, and I made some of my saves. So at this point in the game, I'm in his face. I have all of the objectives. I cleansed the center objective already, and next turn I'm about to cleanse, and that's kind of maxed out on spread. So my turn, these 10 Marines get out 8 inches. I shoot 2 Meltas into this Venom Crawler and blow it up, and then I don't suffer any penalties from charging through dense cover, so they charge the Demon Prince. Mortarion then hops over all the Terminators that consolidated up and charged to kill his Priest and tie up these 2 units of Noise Marine. So that's my turn 2, guys. These Terminators are still alive, trying to kill this last Terminator over here. This guy hopped from behind this building over here to kind of help out this Terminator, and the zombies moved up just to try and get in their deployment zone to kind of screen and block them from moving past their deployment zone. I have so much shit in his zone right now that at this point we kind of knew, or I kind of knew, it was basically game, because he wasn't going to move past all my shit. Mortarion still has 12, 14 wounds going into turn 2. Like it just wasn't good for Chaos. Slanesh. So Abaddon moves over. He's about to charge Mortarion. All these guys kind of scoob up. So at this point, Demon Prince kills, I think, 4 or 5 of my guys. They walk up, finish off the Demon Prince. Mortarion kills the character again because I took Assassinate. This one guy lived. For some fucking reason, he lived with 1 wound left. And all these Terminators just keep trying to attack him. They just can't kill him. So that was MVP right there. Him and then the other guy, he's got 3 wounds left. He's got 1 wound left. Somehow they killed the Terminators. So they're just kind of chilling there for now. Abaddon is about to charge Mortarion. This guy backed up so I don't try and kill him next turn. These guys finished off the Demon Prince. They scooted up, tagged the Havocs, so now the Havocs can't really shoot. These guys, Havocs fled. These guys got charged by the Venom Crawler and actually finished off the Venom Crawler. Like, holy shit. I had 2 cleavers, which do d6 damage, and then Flail left. So they did all of the damage to that that Veno Crawler. I think I rolled pretty good. D6, so he only has 9 wounds. So basically, if I roll like a 5 and a 3, that's 8, and then the Flail only has to have 1 go through. So this 3-man unit is just so devastating to vehicles. Abby finally gets in. Mortarion has 3 wounds left. These guys are just chilling. So let's get to the next round. Mortarion finally dies. So I think Abaddon kills Mortarion finally. He's sitting on 6 wounds. At this point, I'm like, all right, I have the game. I'm literally just trying to get points at this rate. All of his characters are dead. He only has Abaddon and a couple solo guys back here. This Terminator somehow is still fucking alive. Like, he went from the center objective to here, to here, to here, to then over there. Sure, why not? And then at the end of the game, Abaddon is coming over here to finish off this vehicle because he took Bring It Down. My Terminator is literally just running away. And then we finish off the game right here. So I had 96. I took Assassinate, Engage, and Spread the Sickness. We got 14 for Engage. We got 15 for Spread, and we got 12 for Assassinate. He took Bring It Down, Long War, and Banners, which he only got 2 for Banners, 5 for Long War, and 7 for Bring It Down. He got a total of 40. We got a total of 96. So again, knowing Chaos, if I didn't know Chaos, it probably would have been a little bit different. But this game, again, was so... This list was made to do this. This list is exactly tempered to keep the opponent in your deployment zone if I have turn 1. And just say, all right, are you going to go after Mortarion or are you going to go after the Terminators? And once you kill the Terminators or Mortarion, I then have the rest of my army to kind of swell up, swell in, and just finish off whatever those guys didn't kill. So the Drop Claw definitely played a huge benefactor because Terminators moving 5, they're not going to get to them turn 1. So them coming in within 9 inches and then charging 8 inch charge through ruins is kind of the point of this list. So Zach was a cool sport about it though. What I really liked about Emperor's Children, they don't suffer any penalties for hit modification. So Miasma didn't do shit the entire game, the -1 hit, and every time he moved and shot a heavy weapon, doesn't matter. All of his power fists on his Terminators and Chain Fist don't suffer the -1 to hit. So Abaddon is okay with the list. Again, it's Abaddon. But Emperor's Children is super fun because of how many power fists you can put into all of your lists and not suffer any penalty. So I like it. It was cool. Let's get into this. So these two faced the game that we were playing with Emperor's Children. So it was Tyranids versus Andrew Gagne. And this fucking face, he's such a nice dude. But Tyranid player won. So Tyranid player took down Andrew Gagno. And my next opponent was Tyranid player. So day 5, right? Game 5. I'm 4-0 going into game 5. Andrew Gagno lost, so I'm like, all right, this guy must be really fucking good. Samuel Kenny, nice dude, knows exactly his shit, just wasn't used to clock. So here's the thing with clock. When you're at a grand tournament, I 100% suggest using clock every single game that you play. Whether you're going to table your opponent or you're getting tabled, you should always be using clock, so that way it's fair. When I mean fair, if both you guys are talking and just having a good time, great. But if one person is doing his shit and explaining his stuff, another person is doing his shit and explaining his stuff, it should be on equal time, equal playing field. So every time that your turn is going, it should be on your clock. Every time the opponent's turn is going, it should be on their clock. If somebody doesn't know their army or is taking too long to think or has a shit ton of attacks to roll, they're going to be spending a lot more time than you are, so you're not going to be able to get a full 5 turns in to finish the game. If your mission or your army is built upon getting to turn 4 and 5, it's not going to work out. You're only going to get to turn 3, maybe 4, and then the TO is going to call it, and you're going to lose out on points. You're going to lose out on prizes. You're going to lose out on end game rankings. So with this game, it really came down to clock. We started on time, but at the very end on turn 4 or 5, I called the judge over because he yelled an announcement and said, hey, we have 30 minutes left. I look at our clock, we only have 15 minutes. I had 10, he had 5. So I'm like, all right, timeout, judge, come over. Judge then fixed the clock, or I said, all right, I'm going to add an extra 15 minutes. So I'm going to give him an extra 7:30, and I'm going to get an extra 7:30. He said, okay. So we changed the clock, and then we basically continued with where we left off. So even at that point, I didn't have to do that, but I did it. So I was able to give him extra time and me extra time because the round time gave us a little bit more time. So with all that out of the way, let's get into this. So Tyranid player, he ran High Fleet Leviathan, which I'm not sure if I played. I know John plays Kraken. He might play Leviathan. I'm not sure. But he ran this big dude and this big guy. This guy is scary as fuck. It's like D6 plus 6 damage or something. 3 shots. Like, I get invulns, which is great. Not like railguns, but this is a very, very hard-hitting tank-killing weapon. So Mortarion did not like seeing that across the table. This guy is infantry killing. Just shit ton of damage 2, damage 3, whatever it may be. Gun that just does a ton of damage. Flying Hive Tyrant. Swarm Lord, which I don't know if I've seen in a very long time. The Psyker character. The Cursed Leper. Jump Leper, whatever the fuck this guy's name is. But he's the character. Lictor. Which is just never died. Like, probably MVP of the game right there. 3 units of these guys, 3 units of warriors, a big 9-man unit of warriors, and then we had a 3-man unit of Tyrant Guard, and then these guys that have poison and they make you fight last on a 3+. So I knew the Tyranid army pretty well, facing John so many fucking times. So the mission, this was the mission, sticky objectives, which was great. He set up pretty just like that. I set up just like this. So I had an option. I had turn 1. I could have deep struck my drop pod here to try and get his Zenthrope in the middle, but Zenthrope have a 4-up invuln save, and what I saw against Brian was he can make 8 out of 9 4-up saves. So I was like, if I throw my Terminators away turn 1 and they just die, I might just lose this game. So it took me a little bit. I thought, I was like, all right, do I want to just try and tie up his army? No, not against Tyranids. They're just going to mortal wound the shit out of you, and then you're going to die. So I played a little defensive route where I... What happened? Where I deep struck my Terminators back here, kept this thing out of line of sight because of terrain blocking, and then they cleansed turn 1 on this objective. So all my Terminators are out of the objective, sitting there waiting. This guy ran up to get on this objective. This thing ran over the 2 5-mans over here, just kind of wait. And Morty didn't move. So Morty did not come out because this guy is literally just waiting for him to pop out so that way he can shoot him. But Mortarion waited for a whole turn to come out and do anything. So that was my turn 1. Pretty simple. And then his turn 1, he flew out his Hive Tyrant. He moved up kind of everybody. This Lictor moved up 10, got on the objective. It counts as 5 OPSEC models. So he basically took over this objective right here. These Tyranid warriors are moving down their way to this objective. And everything else kind of moved up here. This 9-man warrior unit moved over here. And this 3-man unit only had 2 guys left because I shot it with a Plaguebear's Crawler. So, this is the guy I was telling you about, where didn't know that our play company is -2 to charges for one of our strats. So he said he probably wouldn't have charged the Tyranid or moved the Tyranid out if he knew that he had like an 8-inch charge or whatever. So I think his goal was to charge the Rhino when he moved him out, so that way he can kind of get distance and then fly back fucking 17 inches. Or he didn't know where I was going to put my Marines. So when he blew up my Rhino, I spent 1 CP and I moved my Marines 6 inches back. So that charge distance, instead of it being here, his warriors had a really fucking far charge, and his Hive Tyrant had a really fucking far charge. So I spent 1 CP, 1s and 2s, they died, but still, I was able to live 2, 4, 6 guys lived, right? So they got as far possibly as way they can get from the Hive Tyrant and the warriors. Because if I can countercharge the warriors, or if the Hive Tyrant can't charge anything right now, I'm in a really good position. So, Hive Tyrant, I spent 1 CP, he tried to make the charge onto this Blowdrone, and he failed. He rolled again, failed. So basically we're sitting at 1 CP each. Warriors are kind of fully buffed up in this unit, they failed the charge, and these guys are down here placing a banner on the bottom objective. So that's his turn. So his turn, he had the Hive Tyrant kind of sitting out in the open. I was like, all right, I literally have to throw everything at the Hive Tyrant. So we did. We put Mortarion out, these guys came out, zombies came out, Flesh Mower came out, 5 of these guys came out, Terminators came out. So basically everything is now moving towards the center. We wound up killing Hive Tyrant. Hive Tyrant then has a fight on death at top profile, which is kind of crazy. I wish our Grey Knights had top profile when they died. But he did 9 fucking wounds to Mortarion. So that was a killer right there. So he does 9 wounds to Mortarion on fight on death. Everything else is kind of just chilling in the center here. I don't even think Mortarion killed him. I think the Plague Marines killed him because I thought he was going to kill the Plague Marines. So Plague Marines went first. They then killed the Hive Tyrant. And then everything else charged the warriors over here. This thing hopped out 12 and finished off these 2 warriors. The solo character guy kind of stayed back here, and everything else charged the warriors. So Mortarion and the Death Shroud are starting to chip down at the warriors. Everything else is kind of still back here. These 5 guys charged the Lictor, and he made 6 out of 7 4-up saves, and took him down 1 wound. So this guy lived forever. And then 5 guys got out of this Rhino that was behind here. They got out 8, and then they made their charge on these warrior units to take over this objective again. So this whole mission, again, was trying to take over objectives and tear down his banners. So that's what I was trying to do the entire time. So his counterplay was he basically moved up everything. So his counterplay from here, he moved up, shot at this thing. This thing shot at Mortarion. I made my save. This thing finished off the Plague Marines. Swarmlord started to move down to finish off these guys at the bottom here. The Zenthropes just does a shit ton of mortal wounds to everybody. And this is the end of that turn. So we get to this turn, and Mortarion has 8 wounds left. Everything else is just moving forward at this point. The warriors, I think there's only 2 left. He fell back, but he did something to him where they count as 2 models. So they count as 4 models because there's 2 left. So he has more models on the objective than I do. So he basically is tying me or took it over or something. So that was good on his part. What else? Swarmlord is moving down here. All right, cool. So let's get into this turn. So Swarmlord came down here. These guys moved over. These guys came out to smite Mortarion. Mortarion's down to 5 wounds. I'm trying to remember this game. These guys came out the Tyranid Guard to play. We tried to get the zombies on this objective to try and steal back from him. We weren't able to. And Swarmlord came down and finished off these guys. So, at this point, let me go back. Mortarion flew up to here, or this guy, Heroic intervened 6, and got into combat with these Zenthrop, which was cool. So that was 1 CP, Heroic Intervene 6, got those guys. And then Mortarion, this is where I fucked up. This was amazing to say, but it shouldn't have happened. Mortarion charged the big guy. The big guy spent 1 CP to, what's it called? Overwatch. Within 9 of Mortarion, you're not allowed to Overwatch with Glooming Bloat. I forgot that. So the big guy rolled a 6 and then wounded him. Mortarion then failed to save. I spent a CP to reroll the save, and I failed to save again. So Mortarion died. I should not have died because you cannot do Overwatch within 9 inches of Mortarion, which I completely forgot about. So Mortarion should have killed this guy pretty easily. Mortarion still should have been alive, and Mortarion should have moved this way to finish off the rest of the fucking army over here. So it was closer than it should have been. Moving into this game, or this turn, Mortarion died. This guy's still tied up with 2 Zenthrop. These guys are moving up to try and help out the Zenthrop. This guy went on to this objective. My Plague champion, or Lord of Contagion, moved out. And this is basically the end. So we got these guys back on the objective to try and finish off this guy. Lord of Contagion moved over to try and charge him. The fucking drop pod literally is in their deployment zone after deep striking from over here. That's what's so good about this thing, is it moves 12. So it gets across the table really fucking far. So he's in their deployment zone, attacking the guys, the poison dudes in the back here. This guy somehow made it in the back here. Swarmlord finished off this unit. The Lictor came over here to plant a banner in the back here. And then these guys are here. So at this point, I think we have like, he has under 5 minutes left. And I think I have like 15 minutes left. There we go. So at the end of the game, he had 0. I had 2 minutes left. But we still kind of continued it. We shouldn't have, but we still continued it. At the end of the game, he was trying to get to my zone. This guy's running. All of these guys are running. At the end of the game, I ran and moved everything to get a end game objective. Fuck, so hold on, let me find that score. I am so sorry, guys. I did not take a picture of the score. Maybe I can zoom in here. 76, 57. So spread, assassinate, engage. I had 76 points. He had banners, something, bring it down. So he had 57 points. So 76 to 57 was the finale, and he kind of got upset because of the time. So if he would have finished the round or whatever, I don't know what he would have finished off with, but I still think, again, I might have won. I'm not sure, but I even called the TO over, and we added 7 minutes and 30 seconds to the time on both sides, and we were still able to not complete the game. Well, we made it to turn 5. We talked out to turn 5, like basically the last turn, I ran everything to kind of get in all the zones to try and get the rest of the points. Yeah, to get engaged. So I got 3 at the very end to get engaged. So that was that. All right, so let's pause it here. That was me going 5-0. Okay, so that was me playing the guy who beat Andrew Gagno, and then Andrew Gagno lost to him. So I was the only one in the entire tournament to go 5-0. So it should have ended right there, honestly, because there wasn't enough people to keep going. So the last game, going into the last game, me and him had no fucking idea that the grand tournament was basically already over. Like we could not have played this game and I still would have won. I could have literally just tapped out and said, all right, man, good game, and walk away, and still came out with the win. Victory points didn't matter. Win or loss didn't matter. It literally did not matter. So going into this, me and Andrew had no fucking idea about this. So we just played normal. I was like, wow, this fucking sucks. So I'm basically going into 5-0. I was like kind of bummed because I went all weekend winning everything, and then getting to the final table and be like, all right, well, now I lose. Okay, so after going over all that, again, this game is kind of like fun. Doesn't really matter. We kind of already know who the winner. So me and him play this game as strict and serious as we possibly can. Super fun player. Now with this terrain setup, this is the one I was telling you about where it wasn't the same. See this little slit right here? There's one on the other side too. So basically it's like an hourglass shape. So he can see through it into his, like, you know, shoulder or his little flying guy or whatever it may be. So line of sight was not an issue here. The thing where I messed up for deployment was this guy right here should not have been that far back. These zombies should have been in the ruin over here. And that was my mistake. So basically, underestimating how far he can move turn one, these guys moved up, just obliterated with a railgun this guy off the table. Railgun and this guy obliterated Mortarion turn one. And then the two flyers, which were really good in Tau, flew over Mortarion to land here and dropped a bunch of bombs on Mortarion. So Mortarion basically died without him even moving. That was my turn one, and at that point I was kind of like bummed. I was like, you know what, it's whatever. I lost. It's cool. I made it this far. It was fun. Yada yada. So as this is going on, all the fucking cuddle buddies are kind of circling and just watching the game as their other games end. So they're all like laughing and shit because they already know that I won, but they don't want to tell me. So let's get into the game. Flyers fly over. This guy gets over here, shoots and kills the rest of this over here. Two flyers land over here. Mortarion is now no longer. These guys hop over here and finish off Mortarion. So this is basically my turn one. Brutal turn. So he basically took over this objective, that objective, his back objective, and these guys are kind of holding the right flank over here. I wound up killing his two jets. We basically shot with the melta guns and the blight launchers in each unit. We did a bunch of mortal wounds with the Plaguecaster. So the Plaguecaster was able to help out with the mortal wounds. This guy shot over to here, did some damage to the launcher over here. I didn't have any more poxwalkers because of this guy right here. So there's nothing in the top here. These guys hopped out here, and I forget what, they charged and killed the Kroot Hounds over here. And then these guys, this thing came down turn one in the center objective. This guy got out because, again, remember, do not keep your characters in transports. And then these guys charged the Kroot Hounds that were in this objective, and they consolidated and tagged this flyer. So basically we charged, consolidate, tag the flyer. So now the flyer has to choose whether he stays there and shoots in combat or if he leaves. He chose to leave. So he left, which then I moved up my guys next turn and then just charged it and killed it. These guys deep struck the turn prior, so they deep struck. The hammerhead flew back over to here. This guy flew over to here, and they all shot into the Terminators. They don't have the same weapons as Brian does. Brian does the one ability where they're like -4, -3, las, meltas. Andrew is bringing more like horde killing for sisters. So he had a ton of like AP2 or AP1 shots into my Terminators. Terminators were able to make a bunch of 2-up saves. This bottom of the table is just fucked. So he kills my Rhino. There's 5 guys that get out on the other side of the Rhino over here. They then moved over on my turn to try and charge the Devilfish, or I'm sorry, the Hammerhead. Only took it down to 12 wounds. He's about to kind of run away again. And then these guys block line of sight, so they're basically running back into the center. My Lord is over here. And all right, so this was funny. So these guys are in this objective. My Lord is right here. Next turn, just to give you an estimate, he brought down all 3 of his commanders, which then can hop up and come down the same turn. Anywhere on the table, it's like a deep strike. So basically all 3 commanders went up to the north, up here, to try and finish off my Terminators / Lord. So I spent 4 CP to do Cloud of Flies. So that way they couldn't shoot my commander without killing these Terminators first. So he unloaded everything into the Terminators, finally finishing off the Terminators, and then my Lord lived with like 2 or 3 wounds in this ruin. So he starts to move up. These guys deep struck on this thing over here to finish off these Plague Marines. So then over here, yeah, so I didn't take a lot of pictures. But back here, my Lord then moved up and charged his character, and we actually killed a character. So I took Assassinate for this mission. I'm not sure why, but we took Assassinate. I tried to consolidate and tag up these 3 things, but I was too far off the objective to try and tag up those guys. So I stayed on the objective just to try and stop him from getting points. And then Hammerhead and everything is in the center of the table. So basically at the end of the game, this was the final wrap up. I had a Malignant Plaguecaster right here. I had a Tallyman right there, and that was it. He basically tabled me like every other Tal player does. And at the end of the game, he finished up with 88, and I finished up with 57, which I was actually impressed with. 57. Engage, I only had the first 2 turns. Assassinate, only killed 1 character. Spread, I was able to get 7 off of. But the primary, I got 12 on turn 2, 4, 4, 4, and then 3, 3, 3, 3. So I basically held the my objective, which is what this mission was. You get to move the objectives. I held my objective for almost every single turn. That's why the drop pod came in over there. So I got 33 on primary. I got 7, 4, and then 3 on the secondaries, and he got 40 on primary, 12, 15, 11. So 88 to 57. It was a good game. And then we got to award ceremonies. So this was me kind of just waiting. So after the game ended, they said, "Hey man, sorry about your loss, but congratulations, you won Goonhammer." I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" So they didn't tell me till the very end because they already knew ahead of time. But we were able to walk up. We got the belt, and that is the Goonhammer Open that we were able to take away. So it's pretty cool. I'm gonna hang it up in the garage when we play some games. This is the team. So these are the Cuddle Buddies. We just got another shirt to come in. So we got black jerseys for day 2. This is day 1, and then used to be our day 2 jersey, but I fucking hate the jersey. So Craig was the only one to wear it today. But we got a couple guys who were in 1, 2, 3 were in the campaign mission. And then we had me, John, Brian, Dan, and Craig who were in the Goonhammer. So we all placed pretty high, which is pretty cool. So it was the first time we went to a major GT, and we all placed pretty high. But yeah, it was super fun. So let me pause this and go into what I would change differently. All right, so let's wrap this up. Appreciate all you guys for sticking to the end of the video. Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought, what you would change, what you liked. Again, all these tournament videos are always going to be uploaded to the channel. Once we get up to 1,000 subscribers, we're going to start streaming live. So that way we're going to be like, not like everybody else, because this is mainly focused on getting people better at tournaments and the tournament scene. And anytime they come up with a new tournament book, we're going to have it, read over the objective or the missions, make sure everything's the same, and then, you know, do videos on it. Also, the channel is going to be doing more general videos, how to deploy, how to shoot, how to do the fight phase, like stuff like that. Things that you might suggest, join the Discord in the link below. But let's go over what I learned from the tournament and also what I would change about this specific list. So to get into it, me and Brian, we drove up and we drove back. On the way home, we were talking a lot about what we would change and what we would take out of the list. Brian automatically said, "I'm going to add those flyers in." So Brian for Tal automatically has 2 flyers ready to go. And for me, my biggest thing that I noticed with Mortarion is if he gets shot by something that he doesn't have an invuln save against, he's probably going to die. So it takes 2 railguns to kill Mortarion. So anytime I face Tal, I subtracted the 3 cast or 3 powers on my Malignant Plaguecaster. I never casted Curse of the Leper, I don't think once all weekend. So him only having +1 strength and toughness and miasma to only cast really 2 powers, I saved a CP. That CP then went into having 3 CP for my list. So when I start the game, I start at 3 CP. I can then spend 3 CP to then put Mortarion into reserves. I haven't tested this out yet, but I'm going to be running a mission, hopefully against Eldar Fire Prisms, which you don't get an invuln save if they spend 2 CP, or Railguns against Tal. So I'm going to test to put him in reserves. That means he's not going to start on the table for the first turn. But it was okay. He then potentially can come in, make a charge, and then kind of get into the enemy line. So that is one method. The other thing is the Ferric Blight didn't really play into effect unless it was on the Lord of Contagion. Anytime the Lord of Contagion got into melee, it was then -4 AP. But at that point, they either have an invuln save already, which is better, or they just die. But at -3 AP, they're already making 6-up saves. So honestly, I think I'm going to drop the Ferric Blight Warlord trait on the Malignant on the Lord of Contagion, and put him in the +1 wound, and can only wound him on 4s. Because in that case, he is a lot tougher, because you can only wound him on 4s instead of 2s or 3s. And he has +1 wound. So basically he goes from 6 to 7 wounds with only wounding him on 4s. So I think that'll make him last a little bit longer. So that kind of switched that out. Now, get rid of third spell on Plaguecaster, give Lord of Contagion Hulking Physique, +1 wound and Transhuman, and start with 3 CP to reserve Mortarion. So that was the biggest thing to learn. Now, what was the benefits of this list? Is when anytime somebody sees Deathguard, they're assuming slow, walking up the table, camping the center objective, maybe getting out on the side objectives, but they don't expect you to drop in turn 1 with Plague Terminators, Mortarion running at you, Blight Drone running at you, Rhinos with 10 Marines that have fully buffed up everything running at you. So this list is kind of to go against the Deathguard meta and just kind of throw everything at the opponent as soon as possible. Now, what you're going to do is, if you don't have turn 1, all of the fire basically goes on to Mortarion. And that's kind of the point if you have turn 1. So if you don't have turn 1, all the fire really goes on to Mortarion. So you really have to just see if he can survive against that. And if he can, you just basically move up and he's going to take the rest of the shots on turn 2. So basically you have 2 full turns of him taking shots. Turn 2, you're going to have him fully buffed up with -1 to hit and maybe +6 inches to contagion range. But then everything else is kind of running up behind him. So as all the shots going into Mortarion, and maybe charges going into Mortarion, that's kind of the point of him, is he's to soak up as much damage as possible from the enemy team. Because they're probably not going to shoot your Rhinos. They're probably not going to shoot your Blight Launcher. They're not going to shoot your troops. So with the secondaries you take, spread is almost always taken. Engage, because your list is so fast, is almost always taken. Behind enemy lines is if you have the secondary or the mission where it's completely across the table, or the slanted diagonal, or the long way one where you know that you can get into the deployment zone turn 1 or turn 2. If you're in a turn 2, that's fine. You're still getting 4 points on turn 2 and beyond. If you're not in a turn 1, that's okay. You could still max out the secondary. But the Dreadclaw, you guys have the option, is if you don't want to take the Lord of Contagion, you just bring 5 Terminators. You can put the Plague Skull on one of the Terminators, so that way you still have the Plague Skull. And then you save. He has 130 points. So basically you're saving 80 points that you can use in something else. So those 80 points, you can bring in more zombies. You can bring in, What else? You can bring in another Rhino, so that way your 5-man unit can go into that third Rhino. I probably wouldn't do that though. So it'd probably be zombies for 50 points, and then you have another 30 points left over, maybe giving your Rhinos Meltaguns. Or spawn. Maybe spawn. Spawn would be cool just to have on the backfield objectives or just running out anywhere. So they're 23 points each. So that's 46 points. So you can bring a shit ton of spawn. So one Terminator and a shit ton of spawn. Or another Malignant Plaguecaster. Now, having multiple Plaguecasters, you can only put so much on Mortarion. So it's not going to be a huge benefit to putting stuff on Mortarion. And when the Terminators get out, you're going to want to buff them up if you can. +1 strength, +1 toughness. I don't know what else you could put on them when they get out of the drop pod. But that would be the difference, is if you're not going to bring the Lord of Contagion and you want to bring another zombie unit, or you want to bring in more spawn, so that way they can start at single units, so 3 single units of spawn, maybe 3 2-man units of spawn. That would be good because they move 7. So basically you just run them turn 1 to get on objectives, to kind of just screen out the backfield. That could be an option. But I definitely love the Drop Claw. Drop Claw is so clutch the entire weekend. People were not expecting it. And it moving 12 inches just makes it even more faster for your already fast Deathguard list. So guys, I think I'm going to end it there. We're already at 1 hour and 36 minutes, so I appreciate click on the video. Thanks for watching it to this end. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. If you have any questions whatsoever, join the Discord, post in the comment below. I'm pretty fast with the responses. And if you guys are ever in the Northeast, Pennsylvania, right outside Philadelphia, we have Alternate Universes, which has a tournament every single month. I'm going to be at Nova in about 2 weeks. So if you guys see me at Nova, definitely come up and see me. And also, I just bought my ticket to LVO. So LVO, Las Vegas Open, I will be there. So if anybody wants to hit me up beforehand, or wants to talk about LVO, or wants to come out there, I don't know who I'm playing yet. And I honestly don't even know who I'm playing for Nova. It's either going to be Deathguard or Grey Knights, most likely Grey Knights. And we're going to see how we do for finishing of the rest of the year. But guys, I appreciate it. Good luck with everything. Let me know what you guys like about this, and we will see you in another video soon.